I moved to Canada from Romania a little over 9 years ago, yet lately, I keep hearing and seeing on the news that more and more people are deciding to leave the country. Why is everybody deciding to leave Canada? In this video, I'm going to break down the key reasons that I think are causing these people to leave the country and also add my spin on it as someone who is living this experience. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Raul, and on this channel, we share immigration plans for students to encourage them and help them prepare for their journey, making them feel less alone in the process. In this video, I'm going to talk about the current immigration trend or outflow of Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or reverse migration in Canada, which is such a hot topic in the country. I will start with some context on where I'm coming from, and then we'll dive right into the key reasons that I just mentioned. So I moved to Canada from Romania in 2016, so it's just been almost 9 years now. Yet over the last year, I keep hearing and seeing on the news that more and more people, including both Canadians and immigrants, are deciding to leave the country. This includes people that I know. Canada is a country that relies on skilled immigrants to drive its population and economic growth. Yet according to Statistics Canada in Q3 of 2023, our country saw a spike in terms of reverse immigration or outflow of residents in which Canadians fled the country for a new home in such large numbers. The growth this year has seen a decline of 30 to 40% in study permit applications for 2024. The current environment in Canada suggests that future immigrants may not find enough benefits in settling here. This is based on the study for immigrant retention that was conducted by the Institute for Canadian Citizenship and the Conference Board of Canada. So that is the lay of the land in terms of what's going on here in Canada. Now let's delve into the key reasons why I believe these people are deciding to leave Canada for other countries. For someone who has been living in the country for close to 9 years, the first one is high taxes. Canada is pretty well known for its high taxes. For me personally, I live in Ontario, and the average income tax in Ontario is about 28 to 32%. I used to work in a family-owned startup in Romania and did day trading. I quit work to study for a postgraduate certificate and moved to Canada. Fast forward to 2024, with 2 certificates and years of professional experience, I earn 50% less than what I used to earn in Romania. I think other residents living here can really feel the pinch from the high taxes. The second issue is limited career opportunities because employers are a little afraid of taking a leap of faith, whereas American employers do. For immigrants and newcomers to Canada, many employers expect you to have Canadian experience to begin with. However, when you're new to the country, there's no way you could have had such experience. It's a catch-22 situation. To be considered by a Canadian employer, you need Canadian experience. But how can you gain Canadian experience if no employers want to consider you without it? This results in many newcomers and immigrants having to take jobs that are not in line with their career interests, skills, or qualifications. Many people have to take entry-level jobs, service jobs, or more physically demanding jobs, which is not something they anticipated when they first packed their life away and moved to Canada. On one side, I understand where the employers are coming from. To them, it doesn't really matter if you have the technical skills to do the job, but rather if you know how to do things the Canadian standards. However, this approach can lead to a major loss of revenue for these companies when they leave out skilled professionals who have worked on projects from major countries, including Canada itself. I personally feel that there are a lot of unwritten rules in terms of how you should network and communicate with one another in the Canadian work environment, and you can only learn those things once you are in the environment itself. I do think that this is like a cultural thing in terms of how things are done in Canada versus all other countries in the world, and it might be something that's applicable only here in Canada no matter where you move in the world. So I don't understand the employer perspective because they will lay off people in huge numbers with Canadian experience, but they will not try people who have worked for them in projects indirectly. In a way, I do think that there is a gap in terms of how the government assesses and qualifies immigrants and newcomers to come to Canada and what makes them qualified to come to Canada in the first place, and then the reality that they have to face in the job market once they are here. By the way, if this is something that rings a bell to you, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. I did my certificates here in Canada. I sort of got exposed to the Canadian way of doing things and how the society operates, so that kind of helped me assimilate to the culture here to some extent. When it comes to career opportunities, what I've been experiencing is that there are fewer opportunities as compared to obviously the south of the border, that is USA or even Asia. I think it has something to do with the population size, and companies don't want to get bigger than other companies from overseas, as they don't want to face competition or are afraid of it. Which I think directly it impacts the total addressable market that any businesses can address locally and internationally. Plus, I think inflation has also been hitting hard, as groceries used to cost $60 for a month in 2017, and now they cost $200 to $300 for a person. Our country has been hit pretty hard, so that also impacts the purchasing power of people in the country. That's been my personal experience, but I would love to know what you've been experiencing if you live in Canada, so let me know in the comments section down below. Number 3 is an increase in crime rate and homelessness, and certain drugs being legalized. In Mississauga, where I live, I also keep seeing and hearing random acts of attacks, and at one point I became worried. It was just so random, and things get so creepy when a homeless addict who hasn't had a shower in a year starts following you. This is actually making all the residents feel very anxious. If you find this video useful or insightful in any way, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel, because that would help our team a lot. I appreciate the support. Okay, moving on to the fourth point, which is high cost of living. An average Canadian earns about $63,000 a year, and that is gross income. If we calculate the average income tax that we have to pay, say 28% based on the calculation we did when we talked about high taxes in the first point, that would bring us to $3,700 a month. Now let's look at the rent price, which is usually $2,300 for a one-bedroom apartment and takes up the biggest portion of someone's living expenses, unless you have a mortgage. But we're not going to talk about mortgage because that looks different to everyone, so we're just going to stick to the topic. Number 5 is the housing crisis and its affordability. Canada has been seeing a record population growth over the last year, and this is pushing market prices to go up. There's not enough supply to cater to the demand that Canada has created as a result of the immigration influx. This is applicable to both renting and buying space, especially in big cities and towns. Next, I think there is a gap in medical services, and the provincial government is not doing enough to hire doctors. There is a gap here when it comes to readiness, which I am hoping the government will address soon. Number 6 is the government. I don't want to get into the Canadian political landscape too much because I'm not necessarily passionate about this. I will just say anybody living in Canada doesn't like the tax policy of the government. Next reason why Canadians are leaving Canada is the options they get after getting citizenship. For example, citizens under the age of 33 can move to other countries and work on open work permits, and some decide to permanently move overseas as it is easier for Canadians to get opportunities than in Canada itself. Then there are others who qualify for work permits in the USA, and others go for opening their own businesses in the USA, as I know many of my own friends did that. For Canadians, even a minimum of $60,000 can get the business visa in the USA, unlike other countries. Now for today's video, to recap, we talked about the reasons why people are deciding to leave Canada. We first started with a context on where I'm coming from, and then we delved into key reasons which I believe are causing people to leave the country. Those reasons are high taxes, limited career opportunities, rising crime and homelessness, cost of living, housing prices and their affordability, and the government. The opportunities that Canadians get once they obtain citizenship are better overseas. On this channel, I've been talking a lot about immigration and how you can plan and get Canadian permanent residence. In further videos, we'll be discussing about PNPs. So if you want to follow along, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being here. I hope you find this video useful. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.